Hi everyone and welcome to Aspects of Gaming's workshop, how to live stream. It's going to be an interesting time. My name's Ryan Robin, aka Omega Car, and I'll be taking you through the beginner's guide to streaming. And if you're sitting here wondering how far streaming can take you, let me just say it will take you as far as you will let it. It's currently the fastest growing form of entertainment in the world, but don't forget the most important factor. Just like playing games, streaming can be rewarding and fun, as well as a social activity you can do with other gamers. In this workshop, you'll be taught how to complete a basic streaming setup. You'll be shown how to install and set up your own streaming account, hopefully kickstarting your own online streaming career, and with any luck, you'll be off in no time and hopefully getting paid to do it. Some of you sitting there will be fairly new to this concept of game streaming, so just briefly I'll touch base. In this context, streaming is taking what you're doing in-game and sharing that online with other users via a service. It's incredibly social, it's incredibly interactive for those who are familiar with it, and it's very popular with the competitive gaming scene, but by no means it's not limited to, because of course one of the most popular channels out there is Minecraft. It's very big and it's got a massive following, and this is why streaming is huge. There are about 1 billion people playing games per week on a variety of different platforms, and a part of a lot of gamers' lifestyle is, instead of watching TV or other bits and pieces, is that they like to watch player-made streaming content. And this live streaming content, this gaming live streaming content makes up 43% of the total video streaming traffic in America. 43% of all the live streaming in America is game streaming, versus multi-million-dollar network like ESPN. They can only manage to sort of get 6% of the online market. So we're talking about big numbers here. Gamers watch more content for longer. It's player-made content, and therefore it's done with minimal or almost no resources and definitely no budget. Versus these other large networks they're in the business of doing it. It's their profession, it's their role. They all get paid to do it, and they're doing all the huge amounts of resources, but they can't attract the same level of attention or the same level of interest or repeat viewership that game streaming can currently do. 45 million people a month log on to Twitch, which is the major game streaming service, to watch a variety of live game streams. It's 45 million people a month. Just think about that figure for a minute. It's quite a big figure. It's very impressive. In fact, so impressive that Amazon decided that they wanted to purchase Twitch for $1 billion. $1 billion for effectively a 5-year startup that these guys made out of their garage. So, not only is this a really big thing, it's worth a lot of money to companies, and so therefore they're looking to invest, which will lift the profile of streaming and fuel demand for streamers. And that's where you guys come in, because you could be paid to play and talk about games. It's a very possible future for some of you. But of course, gamers, they'll watch the games that they enjoy. They don't care what other gamers think. Sort of highlighted by this picture, they will just stick to their games and they'll watch games regardless of what other people think about it. So there's a lot of variety out there, so we're going to need a lot of streamers. Let's quickly jump into the major the kinds of software out there. There's actually about half a dozen. There's two in the market that are specialized particularly in game streaming. That is XSplit and OBS. Each of these have a bunch of advantages over each other. XSplit has high utility. There's just things you can do in XSplit that you cannot do in OBS. It can give you a better production value product once you figure out how to use XSplit. It's been around for a lot longer, so there's a lot of third-party programs that you might want to use, and they will most likely be able to tag in, or there'll be a plugin for XSplit for them, whereas OBS doesn't necessarily have that because it hasn't been around as long. And OBS, it's simpler. It's really basic, but therefore it's more user friendly. You've got not a lot can really go wrong. It's well supported by its developers. I know from experience that if you have something that you want to do that the software can't do, you can email them, and sometimes they'll email you a response and tell you how to do it. Or in my case, they actually emailed me an app. They made me a plugin. They made me specifically an app, which they were kind of had an idea that they wanted to do anyway. They asked me to trial it out. I told them it was marvelous, so they then included it in a later version. So from my perspective, I quite like OBS because of that feedback. And I'm just going to point out, OBS is 100% free. XSplit, there are purchasable versions to do all those funky cool production value things that you want to do, but they cost money. OBS 100% free. So each to their own, but they both have advantages. But regardless of which one you go with, they both plug into Twitch, which is the streaming service. You can see there's the address at the bottom. So with those two, it doesn't matter which way you want to go. They can both plug into Twitch. They can both do the streaming thing that I'm talking about. But in my case, I'm going to talk about within this workshop OBS. Open Broadcast, the software. Those of you who are watching this later online, you can go to obsproject.com and download that. And while that's downloading, hopefully you can also then go to Twitch. If you haven't already made an account, make an account. So you need to make an account in order for you to be able to stream content on their website. And how it works is that once you've made your own account, you'll be given a link. And you'll specify the name of it, and that will be the link. So you can then just link that to people, say, hey look, Twitch TV / whatever your name is, and every time someone logs into that, if you're streaming, they can watch you doing whatever it is that you're doing in a game, or it can send them notifications. Hey look, Bob's online and he's playing Call of Duty, and they go, oh, I'm gonna see what Bob's doing, so they'll come and have a look. There's a bunch of features there that you can get. This is how you get paid, but we'll cover that off later, and it's free. Once you've got OBS installed, there'll be a variety of options, which we'll cover off in a later video, or if you're at the workshop, we'll be doing this in person. These settings can seem quite technical, but once you get used to understanding what they mean, it's very basic. But you need to tweak them to your own hardware, and more importantly, the type of internet that you have. It should be ready to go out of the box. You should be able to just plug it in and you do some basic inputs and away you go, but the production value or the watching quality for the viewers may be degraded based on what actual hardware you're running, so you may have to tweak it to meet your individual specifications. The most important thing though for both Twitch and the software, whatever it is, the OBS or the XSplit, you'll get a key once you've made an account from Twitch, which you can just access at any time with this little show key button here. And with that, you take that key and put it into your software. And what this does is it tells your software this is where to send the data to your individual website. Therefore, if you don't have this key, you'll be trying to record something and stream, and it just goes nowhere, so no one can watch it. So that's a really important factor. That's why that's how they connect and work to each other. Okay, so those of you at the stream, those of you watching online later or watching who didn't actually attend the workshop, going to talk a little bit about this. Oh, there we go. Right, so you get an idea. I've already set it up, but basically this is OBS, and it looks really, really funky because I've got it running in this kind of cascading window sort of effect. There's a bunch of obviously options here, and people who are not familiar with the software will be like, what do you do? So scenes are setups, if you will. So this is configuration 1, configuration 2, configuration 3, and you might have a variety of setups for a variety of reasons. Sources are the inputs that you want to go out to the stream. So in this case, I'm capturing a monitor which has got OBS on it. This is where I ran the PowerPoint for the earlier part of the presentation. And how you add sources is by right-clicking into the space here and adding them. And you can add a bunch of different things. As you can see, you can add video. You can add game capture, a video device such as webcams or other devices that are capable of capturing video, just text scrolling or fixed. You can put in image slideshows or fixed images. You can do a bunch of different stuff. So for streaming, obviously you want to have the gaming portion enabled. So you add a gaming source, if you will. So game capture. Type what the name of the game is. In this case, I play a lot of Dota 2. I do casting for Dota 2, so I'll put Dota 2 in there. And a menu will come down. And in this menu, you'll have a bunch of options for stuff you're currently running. Now, it will pick up stuff that is not necessarily a game in this game. So don't get too confused by that. Just pick the thing that you're actually wanting to stream. And booyah, there you go. You can see the game all of a sudden. And I could do a bunch of funky things with this. I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing because I didn't have it there. There we go. Right. Let's see if it works. I can edit this. Now, as you can see, I can move this around. I can drag it around and put it in different locations. And make it bigger or smaller based on what I want around it. And you might think, well, what do you mean? Well, there's these things called overlays that people use to add production value. Perhaps if you do become popular or you have a sponsor, you might want to put sponsors' logos, or you might want to put some graphics design around the borders to make it look a little different. And it's very simple and very easy to do. So once you've clicked edit scene, things have boxes and you can move them and adjust them. So you can move their position and size. For example, I'm going to fit this to screen. And then you might say, hey, look, you know what? I want to put a sponsor's logo in here because, you know, they're sponsoring me to do something. So you can do things by adding additional inputs, or sources. So I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to add a Digital Nations NZ logo, which I conveniently downloaded earlier. There we go. There's the Digital Nations logo. I'm going to pick that, and boom, there we go. And I can position it based on where I think it's going to fit best when I'm playing the game. Leave it in the corner, like so. There we go. And for the remainder of this video, no matter what I do in the game, that little logo is going to sit there and add or make the sponsor happy. Or I can do other things. I can add quite extensive overlays. I've got some older overlays from various other events that I've done in the past. So let's have a look and see if I can find some of those. Apologies. Here we go. I better set this up better for the actual workshop. So here we go. Here's an overlay, aspect of gaming overlay that we used for one of our tournaments earlier on. And I am going to make this full size. So I make this fit the screen. And here we go. We've got a blank square here where I can do what I like with. But you can see it's on top. And so that enables me to shrink down maybe my game video and put it in there. Or I can add video. So in this case, I'm going to add some video. And let's have a look. I just got some video somewhere. Here we go. There's an ad. Here we go. This is an ad video for an ad for a sponsor. And I obviously need to put that on top. So you move the position. You can see here. Look, there you go. There goes the video. Away it goes. So I might have this running while we're waiting for a match. I might have some information that says, "Hey, look, there's a game coming." I can just add text here. Very, very straightforward, very simple, easy setup. And I can move the text around. Look, doesn't look. When you look at the production value as an outsider, and you look at this is what you say. Holy cow, this is good. Wow, this is really cool. And you can add, a variety of different videos, and this is how you repeat your sponsors, your advertising to your base. Now, of course, if you put a lot of stuff in there, then people don't want a lot of ads, but you can put that in there while they're waiting for your next match. This is more of an information, sort of how to just basically do some basics with OBS. Right, so let's quickly jump to some of the settings, because settings are actually quite important. So let me get rid of this game image and video capture and all this other stuff. Right, so settings are fairly important. So there's a bunch of different settings that we need to cover off for those who are now at home sitting down with it. So let's go to encoding. Encoding is capturing what you're doing and turning it into a video format. There's a bunch of different options, but unless you're fully involved in the encoding industry, I suggest you pick the 2x64. And then it has a whole bunch of settings. So just quickly, quality balance is the balance between how much quality you want in it and whether or not there's any buffering or latency to the viewer. The maximum bitrate is what you want. What do you want the software or to drive your internet connection to? So I want my internet connection to drive as much as I can towards 3 megabits as possible, because that's the maximum that Twitch will actually take. The buffer size is how much it's trying to process, so how much load it's putting onto your computer. Now, a lot of the default settings will have maximum bitrate and maximum buffer size the same, and depending on how proficient or how well your computer works, and if you hold the mouse over, it should have tooltips, they used to. Depending on how well your computer copes, you can put that to be larger than your actual max bit rate. And what that does is it doesn't increase the quality or anything, but it makes your computer drive to make harder to make sure that the quality is maintained, so that when you've got a game with a lot of intense action and processing going on, it's not cutting out the quality of the stream and for sake of the game. It's doing the opposite. It's trying to keep the stream as best quality as possible. So while your computer may have some bits and pieces going on with it, it's a bit technical, but you know, if you have a good graphics card, you can do this. If you have a terrible or low-end graphics card, or you have quite an older machine, perhaps you want to reduce both of these. You might want to put the maximum bit rate to about 1.5, and you might want to have the maximum buffer size at about 2 or 3, depending on your internet connection. Okay, broadcasting settings. In this case, you can select a live stream. I'm doing a file only because I'm putting this up later. You can select the location where to put it. You can put a whole bunch of settings. Doesn't really mean too much. But when you put live stream in here, this is the settings that come up that are important. So here's where you put your key. So earlier on in the video, I said this is get your key from the Twitch website. Where you want the data to go. Now, this is a point that I argue with a lot of other streamers. I do a lot of monitoring of my data, and my data says that even though Singapore is closer, and I don't get a consistent connection to Singapore for some reason. I don't understand the logic for it, but when I go to the west coast of the USA, it works like a dream. Here's delay. So if you're casting or if you're streaming games that are very competitive in nature, you don't want people to watch what you're doing, you can put a delay so they're watching what happened, in this case, 2 minutes ago. So if you're playing Call of Duty or you're playing Quake Live, what's happening 2 minutes ago is not going to be relative, so you're not going to have opponents watching the stream and trying to beat you at the same time. Video. Again, this is going to be really subject to your graphics card. So this is the capture size for the stream. So not actually what size dimensions you're running the game in, although they should be the same. This is the capture size for Twitch TV, what aspect ratio it's going to run at, what the quality is going to be. And again, if your internet is not very good, you don't adjust this and try and cast a small box. You adjust what's called the downscale resolution. So none. So this means that whatever the streamers are going to be watching, they're going to be watching the same quality as what I'm producing. So it's going to be a little bit on them, on their internet connection, to make sure that they can watch this. If I feel that perhaps I'm getting a lot of complaints in my stream, or some people say like this is not watchable, then I might reduce the resolution downscale to be less quality, so that it's more watchable by my audience and they don't get so many interruptions, because obviously they want to be entertained. And you can do your frame rates as per normal. Audio. I don't really touch any of this. The only thing I might touch is I missed this encoding the bitrate. The maximum bitrate for Twitch is actually 140, 128, 128. But for individual videos and things, you can just make it as high as you want. I don't really touch audio or video or anything advanced. Nothing else to really hit, and the rest of the settings should just be stock standard. So hopefully you guys watching this online, that's given you a brief overview of how to set up your own OBS. And with the edit the scene, how to adjust your overlays and whatnot. I was Amiga Kai, and thanks for coming on.